set the pace.
Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of the Coach's Corner. My name is Walter Beede, aka Baseball Lifer, on Twitter, Baseball Lifer 11. The whole purpose of the channel is to answer questions from parents, student athletes, speak with college coaches, pro coaches, players, etc., all on the topics related to youth baseball, travel baseball, high school and college baseball, and a little bit of college recruiting talk in here every now and then. We're very happy to be joined tonight. Greg down in Virginia. Greg, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Walter. And first of all, let me say right off the bat, I'm really appreciative of the work that you have done, particularly with parents just like myself. It is, as you know, a very confusing time out there right now. And I think your resources help shine a light through some of the confusion. And of all the parents I talked to that tap into your resources, they're very appreciative of it, and, you know, say that you're a valuable resource. So thank you for me and the rest of those parents.
Well, I greatly appreciate you you sharing that with me, and very grateful and happy to help whenever I can. And that's kind of what I want to do with this channel, is to kind of give back a little bit. And, you know, lots of people, Greg, can talk about as from a perspective of former player, former coach, but collectively, you know, as all of that, plus as a parent that has literally lived it, you know, from when it first began to when it kind of grew into this, what I call monster that it's become. So I'm glad that we've started this channel. So what type of questions do you have that I can answer for you pertaining to your specific situation?
Yeah, so first of all, going back to my earlier statement, it's a very confusing time. And the speculation out there that all that the NCAA in particular has done in response to COVID is going to take till the class of 26, 27 to kind of filter its way through, meaning, you know, the extra year of competition plus the expanded rosters. It's maybe a little bit unpredictable, but I wanted to get your perspective on your thoughts about kind of where we're going with this, if you have any on that subject.
Oh, absolutely. So let's specifically start with the COVID years. It created a perfect storm that no one could have predicted. And so I always try to explain to families, how did we get here? Well, the first domino to fall was the image and likeness. Once image and likeness passed, you know, the train left the station, and then they introduced the transfer portal rule, which kind of coincided with a lot of college coaches changing, you know, May and June, leaving a lot of families kind of in the dark. The families didn't have the ability to transfer laterally, so they felt it was unfair. So the NCAA adjusted that rule and implemented the one-time lateral transfer, specifically one time a year, which was you had to declare at your current school by July 1st after your season was done. And then, of course, we had COVID, and that granted everyone an extra year. So if we take all of that, and then we also have to consider the Major League Draft. They cut from 40 rounds to 20 rounds, from 1,500 athletes down to 650. And then also they reduced or eliminated 42 short season low A teams. Well, what happened is, in years previous to 2021 and 2020, you probably have close to 600 high school student athletes that would enter professional baseball. Well, now that whole mixture has now created the issue that we deal with today. The short answer, 2026, 2027, I don't really see a lot of differences with the changes of how college baseball is now becoming a developmental arm of professional baseball, one. Two, I think we're going to be, long-term, we're going to be dealing with older rosters, largely due to the part of the recent change, which just came in this month, last week, I believe, where the NCAA Division I baseball panel granted multiple lateral transfers during 3 particular times of the year. So now you're going to have student athletes that'll bounce out after the fall, go someplace in the spring. That's going to have a pendulum effect, and other boys are going to be affected. And then you can leave after the spring, as well as right after the draft, which is late July or early August. So my suggestion to families, college coaches are out here screaming, slow down, slow down. We are reducing our high school recruiting classes. Not all, but the vast majority of them, if I had to rank in order of priority with regard to recruiting: transfer portal, 1, JUCO transfers, 2, postgraduate students, which is becoming very, very popular. All you have to do is take one look on Twitter and see how many baseball postgraduate schools are popping up. And then lastly, the high school student athlete. So what does this mean? How can you be better prepared? The number one thing that a student athlete can do now, that's in that 22, 23, 8th grade, 9th grade, maybe a sophomore, start to get your body physically prepared to compete with the older student athletes. It's just a fact that, one, we're going to have a super conference of some kind by 2025, 2026. That super conference will basically, put 3 mega conferences together, ACC, Pac-12, SEC, potentially, maybe 4 mega conferences, but those will be where the big football schools and basketball schools, and obviously those baseball schools. So making yourself more academically desirable, making yourself physically as strong as you can possibly be when your feet hit campus as freshmen in high school. So that was a long-winded answer to say that I think the present recruiting for high school student athletes is going to probably, for the most part, be around for the foreseeable future. And then once 1A, or whatever they classified, or the mid-majors, they may be stuck with the 11.7, or maybe they get to go to 15 scholarships. The hope is that the new super conferences will allow for multiple paid coaches as well as unlimited scholarships that could, in some way, shape, or form, begin to trickle down to the 1A mid-majors, or possibly the Division IIs, as far as increase in baseball scholarships. Long-winded answer, I know, but there's a lot of information out there that I think that a lot of parents don't have access to because it doesn't fit the travel baseball narrative.
Yeah, well, that's very informative. And speaking of access, that kind of leads into my next question, if I may move on. My son is fortunate in that he's grown up around an area where there's lots of resources, and through some hard work and the grace of God and some luck, we've been able to do some things for him that maybe others less fortunate don't have. I conversely grew up in Southern Virginia, which is a very rural community. When I was coming up, baseball was a big thing. But what I've seen through observation is, in a lot of these areas, where I come from is no different. Baseball is kind of condensing a little bit, if not losing some of its popularity. And there's a ton of really passionate, talented, good kids that are stuck in programs where, maybe the coaching staff is not as professional or willing to work for them, or they just don't have the resources to put equipment and a competitive schedule together. What would be your advice for the player that I just described, the one that really loves the game of baseball and has aspirations of playing at the next level, but yet they don't have a lot of resources to help get them there?
Well, I always try to encourage, especially younger players, to try to work their way into some older age groups that may be looking for players. I think if I could point to one issue with regard to the model of baseball in today's world, is we've layered it year by year and given a false narrative to student athletes, thinking that the sport just goes by age and grade. And in reality, that's just not the case. So my thing for younger players or players that have a deep passion, get out and be more independent, get out and be creative, get out and kind of, whether it's a wall ball situation or a broomstick and acorns, or trying to find and put together, pickup games. The other thing is you might have to be more creative with regard to finding other people within your area that want to go play catch, or that want to take some batting practice. I would seek out former college players, former high school players. I just connected some dots the other day. A lot of high school players, they go to college, they don't play college baseball, and they have a lot to offer younger student athletes. They can help them with regard to what really is important and what is not important. The other thing is a lot of former players from either professional ball, college baseball. The local high school coach should be a great resource for younger student athletes. Meaning, if I'm a local high school coach and some 13-year-old comes up to me and says, "Hey, I really love baseball. Is there any way I can shag fly balls for your team?" Great. And then at the end of practice, they give them a couple of hacks. I used to do that. And when I say that to kids, like, I'll tell young catchers, "Hey, find a facility, go ask them if you can catch bullpens. That's going to help you get better. Go in and find a local college team. And if you're younger than a freshman, if you're in the 8th grade or 7th grade, you can go shag fly balls. Some schools are more liberal with that than others. Some have insurance liability, but always a high school coach would always pretty much give kids the opportunity to shag fly balls. Some guys will take infield, outfield. By opening your mind and getting creative. For instance, in Massachusetts, we have a lot of what I call over 30 teams. They're always out there practicing. That's another place to go get some fly balls, some ground balls. The other really important narrative that young players have to begin to understand. When I hear parents say, "Nobody's around to work with my son." Okay, so now if I live in Mexico, if I live in Venezuela, or if I live in the Dominican, or if I live in Puerto Rico, they make gloves out of cardboard. They make bats out of tree limbs and hockey sticks and broomsticks. It does take some creativity, but it can be done. The world of baseball has become put a quarter in my pocket and I'll tell you what you need to know or you want to know. It shouldn't be that way. And a lot of times now with social media, you could put something out on Facebook and say, "Looking for a local high school player in my area to work with my son, to kind of play catch and things like that." I'm a big fan of wiffle ball games. Wiffle ball games are the most underrated way for athletes to kind of develop eye-hand coordination and creativity. Those are just a few ways. Unfortunately, if you look in most communities across the country, they all seem to have been priced out of the sport of baseball. We have literally somehow we have set this number of $1,000 to $2,500 a year as an acceptable, price to play baseball at 6, 8, 10. I mean, it's crazy to me. So if I had a wand, I would open up all the ballparks and create a sandlot league that was just totally nonprofit. Baseballs would be donated, bats, everything. I always feel like if you can get into the elementary schools and the junior highs and just start a pickup day, like a Sunday afternoon is pickup day, and we're going to meet at the local park and just have some, adults there for supervision purposes. But I wish there was a great answer for that. Unfortunately, with the advent of all these facilities, people don't want to throw balls against the wall. I used to throw a golf ball against a wall or a lacrosse ball, just to get ground balls. Those are the types of things I really think pickup baseball, if we could get that to come back in some way, shape, or form, I think baseball would be better off.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And probably if you look back on some of baseball's all-time greats, Roberto Clemente, that sort of player, I can't imagine he grew up with a lot of resources himself, but yet through a lot of creativity and probably some good luck, was able to carve out an amazing career.
Well, you think of Willie Mays, when Tyler played for the Giants, Willie Mays would sit down and tell stories. And he would tell stories when he was 12, he was playing with boys 15 or 16 years old, 17 years old.
Right.
And his father, basically advocated that. In today's world, you'd get ostracized for trying to ask, hey, can I play against some of the older boys? No, you can't do that. You have to stay in your own age group. So, if we think back, whether we like Little League today, don't like Little League today, Little League, Babe Ruth, and American Legion, I've said it once, I'll say it a million times, their model of 13 through 15 playing against each other, Little League 10 through 12, and American Legion 15 through 18 or 19. When I was 15, I faced a guy named Paul Ryder, who threw 94 miles an hour, was a first-round draft pick by the New York Yankees. You can bet your sweet behind that I was nervous as, a hive of bumblebees, but I knew I had to go into the box. You have to get in there. And the more you see it, the more your body prepares for it. But unfortunately, we kind of yell, you throw too hard, you hit too far, you hit too hard. That's not what baseball is. Baseball is a matter of, I'm going to pitch, you're going to swing. If you hit it, I hope my guys can field it. We collect 3 outs, we go in to take our hacks. But, now it's 4 inning shortened games and 6 games Friday through Sunday. It's just a really different format. But, where you are, it needs people like yourself and more parents such as yourself that are out there saying, hey, let's go out and throw the ball around. Let's go out and play catch a little bit, get creative and do rundown or pickle or whatever they call it today. So hopefully that comes back in some capacity.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of runner I'd be running down at this point. I get what you're saying, for sure.
Well, Greg, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me tonight, and it really has helped us when we were able to answer questions from real folks from all over the country. I think we've had people from Alaska, Texas, California, Chicago, and now Virginia and New Jersey today. So this has been great. And I appreciate you taking the time tonight, Greg.
Yeah, Walter, very sincere when I said thank you for all you do for the game and the parents and the players alike.
Well, I appreciate that. And folks, if you liked what you heard tonight and you have a question, please submit it below. We'll be happy to answer it for you. Coach's Corner, we're going to do 2 of these a week, present them for you. Please like the video if you like the content, and obviously hit a home run and subscribe to the channel and tell some folks about it. Don't forget, we have books, the process and the recruiting process for the older kind of student athlete that's between the ages of 13 and 18. And if you have young children that are just getting into the sport, Fun Over Fear, you can find those over at Amazon. Greg, thank you again for joining us. And if you ever need me, Captain, just send me out a message.
Okay, Walter, thank you again.
Thanks, Greg.